order. I'm not as loud as Jeremy. Okay, so let's proceed with item number 1, roll call.
Chair Hayes.
Present.
Vice Chair Long.
Here.
Trustee Balderson.
Present.
Trustee Cranston.
Present.
Trustee Patton.
Here.
Quorum's present.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to item number 2, public comment. If any members of the public would like to speak, you may come forward now. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3, approval of the meeting minutes of the previous meeting on July 25th, 2019. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes?
For the record, Julie Balderson, since I did not attend and was not a member of the board at the time, I'll be recusing myself for this vote for approval.
I reviewed them. I did not see anything that need to be corrected.
Anyone else? Do you want to make a motion?
I move we accept the minutes of the July 25th meeting as presented.
This is Jeremy Hayes. I'll second.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, thank you. Since this is my first meeting that I'm running, if I miss anything, just let me know. Thank you, Phyllis.
This is Todd Reese, Deputy District Attorney. For the record, just let the record reflect that Trustee Balderston abstained from that vote.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 4, the report from the Friends of the Carson City Library report. I don't think we have a report, do we? So is this a mandatory item?
It's informational. It's not mandatory.
I just wanted to see what the rest of the board thought of whether we want to remove this item from the agenda or what action we can take if we leave it.
As a point of information, the Friends of the Library Board has changed their meeting schedule. Instead of meeting monthly, they meet every other month. And so that we kept it on in case they did submit something, but so we would definitely get a report every other month to tie it up with their meeting. So I don't, on that. Okay. We leave it in here in case they send something that we can distribute in person on the day, but we prefer to have it
on the agenda.
Right, with the supporting materials.
Okay, so we'll move on to item number 5, the Library Board of Trustees business. So item A is discussion and possible action regarding election of board chair and vice chair.
So this is for the Library Board of Trustees to identify for this fiscal year, or to have the chair and vice chair. We do have a situation where we are expecting that our current chair will not be able to continue to serve as he's expecting to move out of Carson City. So that's one individual that's not eligible. So at this point, if there are any that want to volunteer or someone want to nominate an individual on the board, we can start with chair and then go to vice chair.
I will volunteer to be the chair. And then, Nick, how do you feel about being vice chair?
That is acceptable to me.
Oh, and that was an acceptance. So so the board can vote on those two as a slate, as chair and vice chair, but it does need to have a motion and a vote.
So this is Julie Balderson, for the record, so moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
For the record, Vice Chair Long, what was your vote?
Oh, yeah, aye. You're gonna have to really help me, sorry. Okay, item number 6, so Library Director Administrative Reports, and we'll start with item 6A, the report concerning activities and operations of the library.
Yes, so a number of things are pretty straightforward in the report. Library assistant had interviews. We think we'll have someone on board here very soon. And the update for the library director is a final, an offer has been made and waiting for an answer. So that is in transition at the moment. On the informational side, the key item here would be the meeting. It's a follow-up meeting for regarding the Adams Hub for Innovation at the last Board of Supervisors meeting on August 1st. The Board of Supervisors did not support an agreement with the Northern Nevada Development Agency. As a follow-up to that, there was the recommendation from Steve Neighbors as the executive director of the Hop and May Adams Foundation to dissolve the donation agreement. So we are working on that situation. We had a meeting, Todd Reese and I met with Steve Neighbors and on August 14th and discussed the information that was needed regarding that. We did receive an official email on August 3rd recommending or requesting dissolving the partnership. And written into the agreement, there is a 30-day either side to request dissolving the agreement. Is there anything you'd like to add? No?
Not at this time. However, we should probably add what it might look like going forward.
Oh, okay. So at this point, we're looking at returning all of the routine billing, personnel, operations costs to the jurisdiction under the Adams Hub. And we will also have a period of time up to, our initial discussion was through October to make sure all expenditures and everything have been squared away. And then at that point, when all of the funds and things have been sorted out, the remainder of the donation will be returned to the Hop and May Adams Foundation. And that is, I guess, pretty much our current status. I'll write a final report at the end of that time as well. Are there any questions on that?
Just ideas on programming, like what we're looking at as far as continued, maybe not partnerships, but continued involvement with the programs that are going on.
Well, that's actually a good question because that was part of our discussion in the August 14th meeting, that Steve Neighbors and the Adams Hub are very interested in continuing partnership with the library. They still value that partnership and want to continue where we can go forward on that. Some of the sticking points were just the operational issues dealing with city procedures and policies and the like. So that part is actually a very good situation for us. I have been working with Kelly, who is going to be staying on, but will be transferring over to the Adams Hub payroll itself. And we've been going over some potential programs to go forward with, and it will be tying in with some of the information that will be coming in with the Northern Nevada Development Agency, and that's one aspect for clarification, that the Adams Hub under Steve Neighbors will continue working with NNDA and getting information, and I'll still be working. I've met with Sean Hildebrandt, I believe is his name, and making sure that we have good information for representing the information at the Adams Hub, representing what the Carson City Library will still be doing to support business development and business retention in Carson City. And we've been looking at some potential ideas to roll in to the Adams Hub. And some of them would be dependent on the information we're getting in. Put together some potential things for if the food business roadshow was one aspect, and bringing together panel speakers and panel and group information. It's very popular business. A lot of people try to start that kind of business. They also have a hard time. And so with that kind of programming, that was something that we would be looking at as an option. So that's a representative of it, but we really do need to do a little bit more work on that and get a little more information to make sure we're representing what is needed in the area and not just, having a few cool, what we think are cool ideas out there.
Are we going to continue the research ninjas and some of the stuff we've done in the past?
We are. We had the research ninjas there on Wednesday afternoons, 2 to 5, way before there was even any thought of the integration of the library and the Adams Hub as we had it during that experiment. So that will continue. We're also looking to continue what we had set up, a podcast room, which still needs a little bit more tweaking. It will still remain Carson City Library equipment, but we think that still can be a good operation to have there and finish, getting that all set to make it easy to use. It's usable, but not as easy as it should be on that. So we're still going to continue on that part. And we think it's valuable cooperation, partnership, and is good value, I think, to the business community, too.
That's good. Anybody else have questions?
So I don't know whether this is a question or an opinion, but so what basically has happened then is we are going to keep our relationship, we being the library, with the Adams Hub Foundation, and the city is say we don't want anything to do with it anymore. Is that what's happening?
Pretty much. That's a summary. That part of the operational side of the donation agreement just had too many issues for the smooth operations. So yeah.
Todd Reese, Deputy District Attorney for the record. At the Board of Supervisors meeting, the Board of Supervisors asked that the agreement with NNDA be between the hub and NNDA. They didn't specifically request that the city be removed from the agreement, but in the discussions with Steve Neighbors and Diane, that was kind of the landing point, was to kind of undo everything and to reestablish and to have the hub be the point person and have relationships with the various different entities that were going to participate in the hub. And so at this point, I certainly do not know the library's programming or information or ability to contribute to the hub, and that'll be for you and Diane, or the new library director, to establish.
Okay. Well, there are a few other issues on here I just wanted to highlight. We're still working with the city financial system. It's getting smoother and smoother, but there are still some things we're working through. And I'll highlight a couple of things as we get to the budget information. We have had a few patron incidents and one that came up to where we had to do a suspension. It involved a number of calls to dispatch to have the sheriff there. And we had another that was almost close to that, but just as a reminder, when we do a suspension, there is a right of appeal in the letter, and that appeal does come to the library board for a reconsideration of the suspension, either to have it removed, reduced, or whatever. So that just wanted to make that a reminder. In the times that I've been here when we've had suspensions, there hasn't been a request for an appeal, but it is definitely a potential part of the process. Okay, let's see. A couple of things update just on the Google, I call it the micro grant that it was submitted, and last week we heard, yahoo, we got that one going. So Creative Learning is forging ahead on that. And we have a couple of other grants in process that have been submitted as well. And we'll be looking forward to further in the fall is when there'll be a slate of some additional funding available either from the state or from the federal level pass through the state library. So we'll be keeping up on that part. And I think most of the other are pretty straightforward. The image that you have in there, we had a great time. I just wanted to share at least this one photo when we had the Young African Leadership Initiative. And I mentioned it at the last meeting. It just had happened the day before, so I didn't have anything to share beyond that. But this is one of the areas where, again, as we continue working with the Adams Hub, individuals that come in with these different groups are encouraged to consider Northern Nevada and Carson City specifically as a point of business. And so that's where we can make initial contact here and then support them as they identify points like hopefully Carson City to come in. So any other questions on that? Okay, then I don't want to step on your toes, Vice Chair, but
All right. So we will move on to item 6B, presentation and discussion of a proposal to consider an honorary designation of trustee emeritus for past library trustees.
yeah, Diane Baker for the record. This is strictly informational. Wanted to put this before you as a consideration. This is something that does exist at another public library in Nevada, at Elko County Library. It more often exists at academic and other type of institutions where they do have a trustee emeritus. It was a very interesting idea. I wanted to put that out for the library board to start to consider if it's something that they want to see put forward, to see more information, to see what legal aspects we need to push forward with it. And as indicated here, it is strictly an honorary or position. It's not an action-oriented type of position, but it is to recognize strength of service on that. And so it's not something that would be granted on a routine basis. It would be for exceptional service on that. So I didn't know if there was any thoughts or discussions, or if you are interested in moving forward for more information or to bring it back as an action item.
You guys have any questions? No. So we've done this before? No. Elko. Okay.
Sorry, yeah, it's been Elko.
How long would a trustee emeritus receive that designation? Is that just like a lifetime deal? You've done so well, we're going to grant you this recognition?
When I was reviewing a couple of these as they existed, some indicated that it was lifetime, some indicated that it could be revoked in case there was, something that
Some
wasn't
conflict of-
appropriate or
yeah.
some aspects. So that again could be part of what is brought back to you is what those kind of options are.
I mean, I think looking at the options is, I'd like to look at the options. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Then I'll look to put additional information together and also be in contact with my favorite deputy district attorney to see, to make sure what we bring back to you is follows all the whatever. Actually, I don't think there's anything in NRS, so we'll have to figure that part out.
I'm not aware of anything in the NRS, but I can look.
What would the benefit be to that honorary person? Like what, other than just a recognition?
It would be recognition for, and as I said, it would only be in the case of exceptional service. And we could, there are some areas where I could put together additional information, so it would give a few more parameters on how that designation or how that choice can be made.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's move on to item 6C, presentation and discussion of the reports concerning the condition of the budget.
All right. So you have in front of you a number of items with the, we don't have the TV on. I forgot. I totally forgot. With the status right now, you're seeing a lot of information that is the bulk of what you have there because you're seeing the wrap-up of fiscal year 19, and we're also underway with fiscal year 2020. So in fiscal 19, you'll see we have just about everything wrapped up. There's still a few last-minute items that are getting closed. The city does close their fiscal year at the end of this month. So everything is not closed yet. So you do see a couple of things in expenditure and the like that have not been completely closed out. And the backup information, the reports, this is probably either the last or next to last one that you will see for fiscal 19 in the report format that you have seen for years and years as we're transitioning. And a couple of items to indicate we have identified within salary, benefits, and within our services and supplies. We are within the expenditure ranges on all of those. And the same with our grants and gift fund. So almost there, almost to the finish line with fiscal 19. Are there any questions regarding our status on 19?
Are these new formats going to be much easier to read?
I think they will be. I'll just kind of jump ahead and we'll come back to the Adams Hub P&L. The last one that you have under this item is fiscal 20, and it's a similar layout, but I think it's a little easier to read and to see where our status is as opposed to the previous setup. We do get a lot of information from the reports, and then we distill it down because they do have a lot more columns of information that are available. But I believe, and this will give you similar to what you're used to looking at, and also I think a little easier to read. thoughts on that? We're using an Excel format. Before, we did not have any option on how the export or the output was. It came in a PDF form that you saw, but this we do have a little bit more ability to adjust. Okay, and just, again, just wrapping up, this is the final profit and loss for the Adams Hub. And in general, all in all, I'd say we are going to be able to show that we did fairly well in this time period. What you're seeing is the overall net, and you see 248, $300 dollars, about $200,000 of that. If you take that off, that would be the new donation that came in May 3rd. So with the 48,000 and a few other items that are general revenue, we're in the good for about $40,000, between 35 and 40. So I think all in all, we'll be able to, identify that the year, although it had a lot of, ups and downs for the Adams Hub, I think all in all, it came out all right. We were able to generate revenue and keep things afloat. Any thoughts or comments on the Adams Hub P&L? Okay, I think that wraps up what I have for you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Diane. All right, so we'll move on to item number 7, other administrative reports. We'll start with item 7A, the update on creative learning.
Maria Clusta, Creative Learning Manager for the record. So the report I have for you today is basically our wrap-up for Summer Learning Challenge 2019. Our end of summer learning event was on August 10th. So I put together a number comparison between 2018 and 2019. So if you're looking at the black and white copy, the left bar is 2018 and the right bar is 2019. But I just wanted to show how we increased in numbers for everything across the board. So we're really excited about that. We had a fantastic participation this year, not only for the program, but also with all the programs that we offered within that 3-month span of time. And one thing I want to note as well is the total minutes read. We had almost 100,000 more minutes read this year than last year. So in 2018, there were a total of 3,030 hours read. 2019, there was 4,949 hours. So fantastic improvement. Same with the reviews that were written from 50 in 2018 to 248 in 2019. So we're very excited about how things turned out this year, and we already started planning for next year. So, and I also included participation for the library itself, but also for Boys and Girls Club, because we do offer a separate program over there. The numbers over there are lower, but across the board, we had 3 times the amount participation. And just with our connection with Boys and Girls Club, we want to continue to grow that. So we're hoping next year we'll have even more participation. So do you guys have any questions about anything or no?
Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
How'd you do it? What were your strategies?
I think one of the great things that happened this year, so we did have a lot of staff turnover last year, but this year we had a new team built, I think, by March. And everyone in our department has just been so enthusiastic, have been great supporters and endorsers for the program. So by talking about it at every single program we had throughout the summer, at outreach before summer started, I think that really helped to build that following. And so we're going to improve on that even more with next year. as well with planning earlier as well, starting now and trying to get a great advertising and marketing campaign ready for next year.
Yeah, that's great. These numbers are great. Where'd you guys get reviews on? What platform?
So all of this information, we actually use Beanstack as our online logging system for this, and we've used it for the past 3 years now. So in 2017, we actually used Beanstack as well as paper logs, but 2018, 2019, we used only Beanstack. So that can be accessed on a computer, but they also created a mobile app so people can download an app on their phone. They can have multiple people on the same account. So if it's a family, they can add all their family members onto that app and log just from their phone. But that's the main source that we're using right now.
Very nice.
And I do want to add, this is Diane Baker, for the record, that the Creative Learning team, you want to know how they did it, a lot of hard work, and truly the whole staff pitched in for a lot of the events, especially the opening and the closing, came in and did a lot of work to make it happen. So that's how they did it.
Good job to your team. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to item 7B, discussion and update on the collection development.
Amy Lauder, Collection Development Manager, for the record. My first item is, it's a very simple change that I think has already had a lot of impact and that we're very happy with, and that's just we put our end caps that we got donated from WNC last year have a nice little rectangular spot on the front of them that I looked at and said, that looks like a great place to put a sign. So we ordered some just basic acrylic front top opening 8.5 by 11 sign holders, and got some of those little poster sticky hangers that you can put on and take off the wall. And I've put them up on every end cap facing the walkway in the fiction and nonfiction sections. And that's to display pretty much anything we want. So we have our big programs like the end of summer learning program party. We can display there. Like we have our signs in the hallway, but it's a little dark. It's nice to have it in a few different places as people walk by. We have our reading recommendation signs that we're able to make through our library aware service easily. So you can make nice, colorful reading recommendations for topics that we might not necessarily do a whole display on for space reasons or whatever, but we can pull out some different topics that way. I have electronic resources up on there, advertising for the newsletter, different things. And yeah, a lot of them are things that might mostly be found online through the website, things like that, so it's nice to bring it into the physical space. And we do have pretty limited wall area and table space for little displays and things, so this works really, really well to display that stuff right where people are walking and browsing, so I'm very happy with that. And I do have some more for perking up the YA large print kind of area, as well as we'll also look at doing something similar, I think, with the Juve area once we've kind of, did we talk about that? Maybe the last meeting, that we're getting new shelving and gonna kind of make that look a little nicer too. So that's just been an easy change that has been working very nicely. And just any staff can change them very easily at any time. So happy with that. And then the other one's kind of been coming for a few months, but yeah, kind of since our transition with starting with Kathy moving on to go whip the State Library and Archives into shape, and then with the retirement of two of our longtime staff members working in technical services and collection development, we are really getting started with that big transition over to kind of our new staff doing those processes and new, not really different systems. Kathy put very, very good systems into place, but this has been a great opportunity to review them, making sure that everything that can be automated is automated, making sure that everything is automated is automated as well as it can be. Checking all the code, making sure all the directions are correct, to make sure that we're getting everything out as soon as possible and cataloged and labeled as accurately as possible. So our newest staff member, Jean Marie, in collection development, has taken on the Herculean task of the majority of the cataloging for items that come in, and then Haley Swift is also assisting with some of those items to make sure all that gets done. So that's been a little bit of a change of kind of moving the supervision of some of those tasks from access services to collection development, but doing pretty well. So, yeah. Does anybody have any questions on any of that?
No, it's very nice. I noticed these signs the last time I was in, and the newsletter one caught my eye, and then I started looking at the rest of them. I'm like, these are really good because, like, when you walk in at the front, it is like
It's dark in
yeah,
there.
and there's so much. So I'm like, I don't know where to look.
There's a
and now
lot.
this is like separated
You
for
can
me.
kind of target it.
Yeah. Yeah, like
Great.
then you see it more. It's better, like because then I
Yeah.
actually stop and I look at what it says.
Yeah.
And not feel so overwhelmed by
Yeah.
all the stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy.
Thanks.
All right, let's move on to that's my agenda. Item number 7C, discussion and update on access services activities.
Romo Reinhardt, Access Services Manager for the record. So the first thing I have to share with you guys today is that we have updated the information desk. So previously, the desk, which is made out of gigantic Lego bricks, had metal shelving as the table, so a solid metal shelf. And there were 4 of them across pretty much flat wall. So in order to get RFID pads to work, because previously they would not work with the metal table, they interfered. So we removed the metal tables, purchased some hardwood countertop tables, and then we actually shrunk down the desk. And while we were doing that, we decided to rearrange some of the bricks to make it more accessible to some of our patrons. So we still have a short side and a tall side, but on our short side, it's now more wheelchair accessible. There is an indentation there, which you can see in the picture I've included. Just makes it a little bit easier to get up there and be able to work on a hard surface. Some of the other things that I'd like to mention are, since it is shortened, I'm not sure if you would notice it right away, but it is 4 feet shorter than it was before. We are looking to add a little bit more space to there, so maybe adding one of the metal tables surfaces back, but overall it's been a real help in terms of being accessible for our patrons. Our next thing is Libraries Equal Education Phase 2. So earlier this month I attended the XR Libraries training with Maria and Jana, who also participate with that. And basically that's related to VR and AR technologies. So at this particular training, we were talking about what went well during Phase 1, what needed to be improved, and then we received additional training on some new types of VR equipment, and briefly touched on what Phase 2 would be. So it was really nice being able to hear what the other libraries around Nevada had to say about the program, about what they're doing at their libraries, and then being able to share what we did as well. During this training, we received another Oculus Rift and another Oculus Go, so now we have 2 Rifts and 8 Goes, something like that. So we have an Oculus Rift is plugged into an actual PC, whereas the Oculus Go is a standalone headset. So the Oculus Go is a little bit more portable. Additionally, I believe in Phase 2, we will be focusing less on, I guess, passive programming where a person participates with an experience created for them. They will be sort of creating their own experiences, whether that's going around using 360 cameras, making their own YouTube VR type things. So we'll be exploring that a little bit more in phase 2, and I'll share that with you when I have some news. Any questions?
Thanks, Ermal. All right, so let's move on to item number 8, board member announcements and requests for information. None? Are Jeremy and Nick still there?
Yes, we're still here.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 9, public comment. Any members of the public who wish to address the library board may come forward now.
So, Amanda, I'd like to give public comment very quickly.
Okay.
So, seeing as this is in all likelihood my last meeting with the Carson City Library Board, I do want to thank everybody that has been involved with the library. You know, I'm coming up on about 5 years here, and you know, it's been an amazing experience. I'm very sad to no longer be here or be working with the board. So I want to thank everybody that I've had the opportunity to work with, and I want to thank you all for continuing on and doing good things for the Carson City Library.
Thank you, Jeremy. We appreciate you, and we're going to be sad to see you go.
Thank you.
We're going to lose your 5 years of hard work and experience, but we know you're going to continue to keep the library and support the library.
Oh no, I'll still be supporting the library.
Come for public comment sometime.
I will.
All right, we'll move on to item number 10, adjournment. Is there a motion?
Jeremy Hayes, I motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Thank you all. Bye.